What's up, Tutorinos? Welcome back to the Game Addicts Podcast, show where we talk about the modern and retro video games that we play and collect. I am this podcast player, one Brando, and I'm flying it solo today all by my lonesomes. Of course, as we detailed last week, and then, of course, on some episodes that have been pre-recorded and are to come, Mike is going through some health stuff right now. He's going to have some surgeries up here in his sinus and areas and get all that stuff kind of taken care of. So in the meantime, I'm playing it solo. As I said, I think we got 2 shows in the bag that we pre-recorded before we're getting closer to a surgery date, and we're going to air those. But today, I decided to come at you live because we got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. And, man, I haven't done this in a while. I just kind of realized around episode 115, and I used to do pickup videos over on the Journey to Comics YouTube channel. I get new games. I'd be like, "Hey, I got this game. I got Heavy Rain," or or whatever game. I grew my gaming collection over the years, and those were over there on that channel. And I wanted to kind of come back to that because those pickup videos that were on that channel really is the genesis of this podcast. Me just cataloging my game, saying, hey, I got this game. Here's the story behind it. Here's why I like it. Here's why I thought it was cool to pick it up. And then that morphed into the Game Addicts podcast. And, of course, then we started doing pickup segments on the show. And so I thought it'd be cool because, I really built my collection before the show really kind of went up and going to kind of go back and look at some of the stuff. And we're going to be doing that today. We got 2 videos from that era. The spring and summer of 2015, and then the fall, winter. It's funny, I say in spring and summer, I'm done buying stuff, and then fall and winter, I bought stuff. I kind of did that for about a year and a half. I kept saying, I'm not buying no more, and then it would just be like, here, I bought a game. Here's a little cheap. Oh, hey, look, it's bonus season. And the wife's like, here's some money. Go and have some fun. And I'm like, I'm supposed to not be doing this, but I did. Anyway, guys, that's coming up. And, of course, we have some pretty cool news and everything kind of going on as well. But before we kick everything off, I definitely want to go and give a shout-out to Tyler McLaughlin from Podcastry for pitching in and helping out last week. And, of course, also everybody over there at Podcastry. I was over there on their show last week, and I was on the air with our good friend Dick Blaine-Tyner, the Blaining. And, of course, Tyler, as we sat back, and we just talked about some old stuff, man. We kicked back, we talked about some heritage, and we talked about some old school things, Tyler's really, really, really mad about the Butterfinger. We tried a new Coke, the orange vanilla Coke. He had an episode of Cokes of Blokes over there on that day. It was a lot of fun. Go check out that episode that I was on. I believe the episode is called The Talons of Freedom. That was a really cool, fun episode that I did with them. So if you guys want to go check that out, please do it. Please go give them some love. They have their own Patreon now. Go and give those guys some love. I'm going to be partnering up with them and doing some more stuff with them in the future. I'm really, really proud of those guys, and they are just, man, they keep building and building and building on their base of what started as an idea of a fabric of conversation of Blaine. Blaine's like, I really want to do this podcast, and then it's kind of built and stacked, and that's what all great things do, man. They just keep building and doing more stuff, just like we've done here. We started as a podcast on YouTube, and then we shift over to our own feed. Now we go live each and every single week, and we also stream some games and everything when we can and when we're able to. That being said, go check that stuff out. It's on the screen if you're watching live. The podcast, it's available on all of these great platforms. If we're not on your favorite podcast platform, please let us know. Check us out on the social media links below, right here on the Facebook, Twitters, and Instagrams at Game Addicts Play. And, of course, twitch.tv Game Addicts Play is where we're at as well as our Facebook page. We go live there as well. Now that that's out of the way, I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant, it's a pretty big elephant because it is the size of a worldwide global networking elephant. We're going to talk about the good old Google Stadia. Google Stadia was just announced yesterday as I record this and as I'm live. It was on Tuesday. They announced this at GDC. And essentially, it is a new streaming platform. So what is Google Stadia? Well, Google Stadia is going to be connected. You can hook up. It's going to be a service. You can get it on your laptop, your desktop, your phone, your tablet, and of course your TV. And you're going to be able to play games and stream games. They claim that their GPU that is dedicated for each stream is more than the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X combined. And they're going to be able to stream to you 4K 60 frames per second gaming, and simultaneously you're going to be able to get that stream and download that stream. You're going to be able to sit there and play that. Meanwhile, you're going to be able to upload and stream yourself at 4K 60 frames on YouTube. I tell you what, when I first kind of saw this, I didn't look into it. I'll be honest with you. Of course, if you guys remember, Google kind of ran their beta test with the web browser. You could play Assassin's Creed Odyssey in the web browser, right? So there was that whole test going on with that. But then, I had heard that everything kind of, it worked. You could do it. And then when they did the announcement, they showed, hey, this is a regular MacBook. This is for, it runs perfectly fine because all the computing is done on their end, right? But, here are my arguments with the streaming service, because it's the same, because PlayStation and Xbox are also been kind of dipping their toe in that water as well. When you are setting this up, you have to think about, internet users as a whole. Now, they went to great lengths with the announcement of Stadia to say that the person with the worst connection can still enjoy this, and it'll be fine because there's not as many places that the stream has to go. It's like all the stuff is held on their end, so it's like, the stream goes, to and fro, hopefully no entanglements. Well, the thing is that you have to think about a lot of the people in the rural areas. Like back where I grew up in my hometown, like we're not going to be able to get stuff like this. I guarantee you, we have like 600 people in that town, maybe less now. Maybe we could, but, I remember it was a big deal in like 2003 or whenever it was when we got cable internet, and the fastest available was 3 megabytes or megabits a second. We were like, oh, this is so fast. This is awesome cable internet. And I currently have cable internet through Comcast. And I don't want to get this if I have Comcast. Comcast is really unreliable. I have had great amount of luck streaming ever since I've got my own dedicated streaming laptop. Back when I was streaming through the console, it wasn't that great. That could have been a mixture of both. But with the laptop, it's been mostly, I need to make sure I'm on the right side of the screen. It's been mostly good. And I just saw a sign as we were coming home today that said AT&T Fiber. And I'm not a guy, I don't really like AT&T. They screwed me over in the past on the phone bill. Quite literally, this was the interaction I had with AT&T. AT&T was like, here's a extra charge on your bill. So you look at that and you're like, well, I haven't bought anything. I didn't buy any apps. Hey, what's that charge on that? Oh, that's just an extra charge. That's a one-time charge. What's it for? They could never tell me. The next bill, I had another one-time charge. Next bill, another one-time charge. They were siphoning money out of me with these one-time charges. There was probably some sort of class action lawsuit that I probably could have went and gotten done. However, I left them, went to somebody else. AT&T Fiber, I looked into it. It's not available yet in my address. It's like a block down. It's available over there, I guess. I'll look into it. I'm hesitant because it's AT&T, but it's a different company than it was back when I had AT&T 10 years ago. So who knows? But if I had a good Google, not Google Fiber. We don't have Google Fiber here. Come on now. They need to work on that if they want to make this a big thing. They need to try and spread Google Fiber as many places and big cities as they can. But if I get fiber internet, this might be something that may be really cool, to look into. And they're saying you can use any USB controller you currently have that would work with your whatever, right? But of course, they're going to sell their own controller, and I don't like the D-pad. That thing, look at that thing. That D-pad's horrible. I haven't even touched it, and I can tell you it's going to be horrible. It does have triggers, so it's got that going for it. The first thing that I thought of when I saw this controller, it's not quite as bad, but you guys remember the Ouya controller? Yeah, Ouya. However, so they said at launch you're going to be able to do 4K at 60 frames, stream to your house. You're going to be able to play it on your TV, on your phone, on your. I mean, I don't know whose phone can do 4K. Maybe they have some phones that can do that. I think mine does like 1440p, but they're saying, hey, we figured it out, and it's going to be available at launch at 4K. Well, they're saying that in the future we're going to be capable of 8K. Cool. And they also are saying that say you're watching a dude, say you're watching somebody stream their game on YouTube from Stadia, and you can click on that right from there to launch it. You can also join their game if they're playing like an online game. You can join it with one click and be right up, and it works in it works in a browser, it works on your phone, it works on your TV. This is a really cool idea, and of course the future is going to this. The future is going to go to the streaming platforms. But with the other guys, with Sony and Xbox, they seem to be more like, let's work on this. There's going to be a huge dedicated people who still want to have their physical media or digital media, and we're going to still supply that for them while still building up the new business model that is the streaming model. And of course, Google's pretty much jumping right into the deep end. They're cannonballing right off that high dive, saying we're going all the way in. That's not a bad idea per se, but I like the way that the other guys are like, I mean, I'm a collector. I collect physical games, and I do know there's a lot of people who like do that as well. So on one hand, I know that if I want to keep playing my games, if I want to keep growing with the gaming community, this is going to be something that it's going to happen. As I pick off little pieces of fuzz off my microphone. There we go. It was bugging me. But I'm going to drag my feet, and I'm going to kick and scream the entire way. I'm a dude who loves to collect my games. I love to have them on the shelf. I love the stories they have. There are some games I have just to have them. It's like tattoos. A lot of people, it's funny. I hear this a lot. The first couple have a lot of meaning, and then after that, they just mean nothing. But for a lot of people, it's artwork for them. These are works of art. I want to be able to plug in my game and not, plug it. The old games, put a cartridge in, turn it on. There's no uploading, there's no installing. You're ready to go. I love that era of gaming for that. This is the future. Phil Spencer apparently wrote an internal Dick Blaine Tyner. He attests tattoos. Yes. So Phil Spencer did. He replied in it's an internal email. Basically, he feels vindicated by Google Stadia's announcement by saying that we're on the right track. They went out big today, and we're going to go big at E3. So it's pretty much assumed that Xbox's E3 is going to be a very big showing, a very big, and also probably heavily centered around the new hardware and their new streaming platform. And here's what we can do, and we're going to be better than them. Basically, Stadia is going to be a competitor to Xbox. I know that Spencer wants Xbox to be synonymous with gaming. Google coming out right here at GDC, putting, as I said, they didn't dip their toe in the water. They jumped right in. They have no real big, I didn't hear about any real big third-party announcements for stuff coming to this yet. Of course, we saw stuff along the lines of NBA 2K and stuff like that. I do assume there's going to be a lot of third-party people interested in having another platform to put your games on. And good old Dick Blaine Tyner, hey, no problem for the Patreon plug, dude. Of course, anything to help out my buddies. Anyway, go check out the Journey to Comics Patreon too if you get a chance. I believe they still have one, yeah. So what is the aftermath of this? I'm looking at myself, and it's like I'm in a mirror, I need to I'm not used to just being by myself on the stream. I did a couple of things that were called Game Addicts Pluses back when, but it was more chill, more relaxed. And yeah, I need to get back into doing stuff like that. But what is the aftermath of this? We are going to. I'm in the seat of wait and see. I want to see more. I want to see if they're going to be at E3 or in and around any of these other gaming conventions or going forward with more announcements. I want to hear more. The controller, apparently, this is something that I forgot to say. The controller will be directly connected with Wi-Fi to the Google Gaming Center to reduce lag. So there's going to be a Wi-Fi transmitter into the controller that is going to... That's interesting. That's different. Also, there's a microphone on the controller, and you can access Google Help. So, and they showcased it where, some dude was playing Tomb Raider. It's like, Google Help. And they're like, how may I assist you? How do I beat this tomb? And it's going to see where you're at, what you're doing, and either find you the video or find you the solution. It's interesting. And also they're saying that anything you see on your phone, on your browser, if you have the app, it's going to pop up and you're going to be able to launch the game or launch the app. Any sort of link for an advertisement can turn into a launching thing for Stadia. This thing's very ambitious. It was more ambitious even than what I had thought before I even looked into it, before I watched their thing. Who knows? This thing could really revolutionize gaming, but it could. I remember OnLive. You guys remember OnLive? It was basically this, but like 5 years ago, and it wasn't ready for it yet. Do you guys remember when Sony decided to release an all-digital handheld? It's called the PSP Go, and it flopped on its ass? That's because, number one, the PSP, while being a great system and sold like 80 million units, just didn't have the user base for an all-digital platform. The other thing is, as consumers, generally, we weren't ready for it yet. That was like way back in 2009, 2010. So, not ready yet. Too soon. Is this too soon? We will see. We will see. I'm still on the fence with it. I'm interested. But I'm on the fence interested instead of on the fence doubtful. If I question whether or not they're going to be able to do what they promise as reliable as they promised. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that going forward for now. But as I did say previously, we're going to be looking at some old gaming pickup videos from the good old days of 2015. As I said, I grew my gaming collection over the years. I pretty much kind of stopped buying games. If you've been paying attention to the podcast, I haven't had that many pickups. I do have one singular pickup for today, which I will share. Now Blaine's flip-flopping over. Thank you for tuning in, Blaine. And, of course, another shout-out to the great podcast of your podcast as well. Blaine, quick question. Are you doing a certain show this week? Is it premiering this week? Or did it premiere last week? I don't know. Blaine, thanks for doing me the solid, man. Yes. The KC. Is that happening yet? Because I will plug it if it is, before I continue on with the show. Okay, he did not record the last week, but they're going to try it again this week. Basically, guys, over on the Podcastrophe feed, they're doing a Game of Thrones show, which is going to be centered around, of course, this last season of Game of Thrones that's coming up, which is super hyped, and that is going to be streamed live on their feed. And yes, I will join in when and where I can. Just depending. It all just depends. Nate, thanks for dropping in. Nate Phillips, of course, JIC, Journey into Comics. Thank you for dropping in on the show. Right as soon as we're about ready to take a little break and go back into the time machine, go back into 2015 as we look back on some of these old pickup videos that I have. And we have two of them. There's going to be the first one, Spring Summer 2015, and then there's going to be a bit of a break where I have another news thing and my pickup, and then of course the last one for the day. I wish there was more that I could do, but I'm flying solo, man. I'm flying all by myself, and there's really not a lot of news other than the Google thing. I mean, the Google thing took up the most of probably the first half of the show. So, without any further ado, let's head on over and check out Brando from Spring, Summer 2015. What's up, guys? Brando back here again for the first time in a very long time with a pickup video. I think it's been since like April that I filmed one for like March or whatever. But I did slow down buying games, and it's just now that I have enough games to kind of fill up a video to sort of talk about it at length. So I'm just going to get started. Back in April, I went up and hung out with Nate a little bit up in his neck of the woods. And of course, you know, he's like, hey, you want to hit up our disc replay? And I'm like, of course. So I picked up Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls on the Game Boy Advance, and then I picked up Splatterhouse on the 360. Now Splatterhouse is really interesting because this is like a remake of an old game on like the TurboGrafx, and I think Splatterhouse 2 and 3 were on the Genesis, and I believe you can get those versions on here along with the original arcade version. But really gory, really heavy metal. Really, like the main character kind of reminds you of Jason or something like that. But this next one here, this one's actually like a holdout. This is like really late March. I actually forgot to include it in the video for March, but this is Castlevania Circle of the Moon on the Game Boy Advance. And my buddy Mike picked this up for me, and thanks, Mike. And I am finally getting to talk about it in the video, so I can finally put it up. The next run of games are all games that I got from one of my favorite stores locally, Disc Replay. Really good prices. Most of these were on the super cheap. So I'm just going to sort of go down them pretty quickly. The first one is Grand Theft Auto Episodes of Liberty City. Now, I actually have both of these, but I remember when I picked up the first one, the Lost and the Damned. It was exclusive to the 360, and so I had a 360, so I bought it just to play it. And then I ended up picking up the Ballad of Gay Tony on the PS3 because that's where I had the actual core game. So I picked this up because anytime that I see any like sort of like digital or like DLC stuff that comes out in physical disc, I want to own it. So here's this. I added that, only a few dollars. Same thing, only a few bucks. Infamous 2. So now I have all of the Infamous games that they put out, except for the DLC one, which was only available on disc, I do believe, in the States when it was with the like the 2-in-1, but I'm already sort of past that. I'm not gonna trade these in to get that. I did get the DLC on like flash sale or something for a few bucks. The next one here is Alan Wake for the 360. I like, you know, Remedy stuff. I like the Max Payne stuff, and I've been just waiting to get this. It just sort of kind of came and at the right price at the right time. Speaking of right price, Darksiders 2. I've never played any of these, but I saw this for $2. I could not say no, and I actually had to do a double take because, I mean, it says not packaged for individual resale, so it had to have come in sort of like a box set of some sorts. But I just couldn't figure out if this was actually the full game or a demo, because I looked on the inside and it says the Crucible Pass, and I didn't know if that was anything, or because this was made by THQ or put out by THQ, and they're long since gone. But to unlock the full experience, I didn't know if this was like some weird promotion they had going on, but it looks like it's the full game. I put it in, tried it out. The next one here is one that has been on my radar for a while. It's always sort of around the $30 range, and I happen to just catch it at a good price, and that is Tales of Vesperia. I'm a huge RPG fan, and anytime that I see anything sort of exclusive, I try to grab it, especially RPGs for the 360, because you just don't see a whole lot of Japanese RPGs that are exclusive to the 360, and stuff like this is like a title that they put up to try to entice the Japanese gamers to sort of get on board with the 360 in Japan, and it never really worked. I mean, I have the with Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon and stuff like that. I have that already, and so it's really cool to get this one because I like the Tales series and I want to get more of them, but you know, RPG titles have a tendency to keep their value longer than some other titles. So when those like other Tales games for the PS3 kind of go down a little bit more, that's when I'll be picking those up. The last two here are for the Xbox. The first one is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. This is getting a little bit on the expensive side. I want to say I picked this up for about $12 or something, but a little bit more than what I was wanting to pay for it, but it's starting to climb, and especially the second one. The second one is really climbing up, and I think I saw it for up in the 20s or something like that. But if you like your over the head sort of pack and slash team up games, like you can team up with your buds and just go around and just beat the crap out of stuff, check this out. I think this is also on the PS2, and it might also be on the GameCube, but I am not sure. The last one is a platformer, fun platformer, Dr. Muto. This was super cheap, guys, a couple bucks, and that was it. And this is just sort of a little like niche title. It may have come out on the PS2 also, but it's just weird and quirky, and I just like games like that. So I had to pick that up, especially only for a few bucks. The next couple here I got on another trip to that store. I got the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Genesis. Now I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually love playing the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. Well, I had no idea that this was an entirely different game. This is more like a fighting game. And so I sat down and played this and tested it out, and I was really surprised to see this was not the same game. Now, I do know that the Power Rangers, the movie game on Genesis, is also on there, and I think that is the same, across the two games. Because I absolutely love the Super Nintendo version. I'm like, oh, Genesis version, okay, I'll just grab it for that, whatever. Now I gotta go get the one for Super Nintendo because they're two different games. And I had no idea. I should have done my homework. Next one, I had the box. I don't know if you remember in a pickup video I did a long time ago, but I came out of work one day and there was an N64 box sitting there with a whole bunch of Super Nintendo boxes. And this was in there, Buster Bust Loose, Tiny Toons. And I happened to get the cart for like $4. So I completed my set. And now, this is sort of a weird one, but the box is in such good condition. I wish my Chrono Trigger box was in this good a shape, but pretty cool to get this complete. I'm not going for a complete collection for Super Nintendo. It's just I happened to see it and was like, I remember playing that from a kid. I would have bought it anyway, but having it in the box is just a plus. This next one, NES Double Dragon 3. Now I have the other two that I got from various NES deals that I did. So I found this and it's not very good. I prefer, I believe it's the first one. It's the only one I really like, but I had to get it because it was pretty cheap and I wanted to complete it. So there's Double Dragon 3. These next two I picked up from Game Exchange. Now I don't know if it's everywhere, but my two local game exchanges around here changed their name to like Gaming HQ. So if anybody else lives near a Game Exchange and they've changed their name, please let me know, because that may have just been like our two around here that changed. Maybe they separated, they're no longer affiliated, but I picked up Zelda The Wind Waker on the GameCube and Zelda Skyward Sword. So I have Wind Waker for Wii U, but I always wanted to sort of pick up the GameCube version, and I never played nor I never owned Skyward Sword. And Skyward Sword, unfortunately, it says it's the one that comes with the music disc, but there's no music disc and there's no manual if there was a manual. It is what it is. I came across this when I first started collecting, and then I hadn't seen it until I saw it this time, and I wanted to pick it up. I had the money to pick it up, so I went ahead and bought it. Same with this. I threw this in there, and funny story about this. I was in the store. I'm just looking around. I see these. I also see a few other things that are catching my eye. Things that I would just be paying too much money for, but when you have the money and you see something you want, it's hard to say no. So I went by these, I saw these, and I walked over, and then I walked away. I walked a little bit down, and then I was trying to debate whether I wanted to buy these or put it towards something a little bit more expensive, a little bit more rare. And I heard this teenager, this kid, preteen, I heard this kid say his mom, "Look, Zelda games, those are awesome." She goes, "Oh yeah?" And I went, "Excuse me, can you help me get some games out?" And I totally, if he was going to get these, kid, I apologize, but I totally sniped them because I wanted them, and I'm sorry if I sniped you, kid, but I had to own the Zelda games because I want to complete my Zeldas. I actually had a case for Wind Waker. My buddy Tony, back when I had a GameCube, he ended up giving me the case for Wind Waker, and it had a copy of Resident Evil 1, Disc 2. So that was really weird. But I think the version of this game I bought had like the bestseller sticker, but I had the original non-bestseller case already, so I just put it in there. Neither one of these have manuals. That's unfortunate, but such is life. Whatever. I have the games. That's what matters. These next 3 Wii games I actually bought with Nate when Nate was he came down for my, I believe it was the baby shower that he came down for my son, and we hung out and whatnot, and then we went into town, went to Disc Replay, and I picked up Sonic Colors, I picked up Super Mario Galaxy, and then I picked up The Blob. Now this is a pretty neat little quirky game. It's not much to say about here, it's just fun. Sonic Colors, I always wanted to own Sonic Colors, but again, I'm cheap and I try to get stuff as cheap as I can. Saw it for pretty cheap, picked it up finally. Super Mario Galaxy is one I want to talk about though, because this is a game that I always wanted to play, but I never really got a chance to play. And they had two versions. They had the player's choice. I haven't said player's choice, but it's Nintendo Selects, I guess, for the Wii. It's almost just like their greatest hits, like for PlayStation or for platinum hits for Xbox. The non-platinum hits, greatest hits version of this, the non-one was going for like $20-something, and this was going for $12, and I just could not believe that there was that much of a price difference. Now, I know there are some collectors who just want to have the original non-altered box or anything like that. For me, I want the game. It's what I care about the most, and I want to get it as cheap as I can too, so I had to just go with this. I don't care. I mean, it's the same game. It's the same game with a little bit of extra, you know, ribbon on it. You know, hey, this sold a lot, so we're gonna put this on it. It doesn't bug me that much, and it saves me some bucks. You know, so I don't know if that's a thing where they're charging less for that, because I honestly was just not unsure, and I probably could have went up and asked them, but I just picked it up. It was nothing to really, you know, worry about for me. But moving on, well, I did an unboxing on this. It's Batman Arkham Knight. I'll put the unboxing down below if you want to see that. This game was interesting. I liked it a lot, but I was also a little disappointed with some of the boss fights. Pretty much there hardly are any. You're pretty much in the Batmobile the whole time for the boss fights. There's only one or two actual boss fights. I really liked the story. Some people didn't like sort of the twist at the end, or the identity of the Arkham Knight, which I won't spoil here. I didn't mind it. Honestly, it's just their version of it. I like the Arkham universe. I would not say that this is my favorite in this series. I probably would still go to Arkham City, but there's not a bad game in the series. There really isn't, unless you're not a fan of the Blackgate, the mobile game, the Vita game. And I have it on Vita. I think it's on DS. But if you're not like that, sort of the 2.5D, you might not like that. But in the actual core console games, there's not a bad game. These next games are all games I got from Goodwill over the course of July, I do believe. July, and I think there was a couple of August in here. First of all, Test Drive Off-Road. Now, all of these games cost $3 a piece, and now that's my Goodwill. Some Goodwills charge like $5, which is too much, especially for like, you know, for like some of these games here. But $3, I feel like I can pretty much, they're either right on the money or a little under what these games go for. So Test Drive Off-Road, PS1. I got the original Rock Band. So many memories playing the original Rock Band. That's pretty much the reason why I bought this, is memories. Because honestly, you could buy Rock Band 2 or 3 and have all the other ones because I still have them, because Rob owned this. He owned it back in the day, and I just borrowed his, but had to get it because $3, memories. ATV Off-Road Fury 3, I got 1 and 2, so I got the third one. That's pretty much the end of that one. Tekken Tag Tournament. Awesome game. Only ever played it in passing when it first came out. I like Tekken, so a couple bucks, picked that up. Final Fantasy X-2. Not the best Final Fantasy out there, but funny story is that a copy of this was donated to me, so I never actually paid for it before. And I found this there at Goodwill with manual, and the disc is actually in slightly better shape. So for $3, I said, okay, I'll do that. And this last one on the original Xbox, Secret Weapons over Normandy, I pretty much went, what is that? And then I picked it up. At first, it sort of looked like kind of like a budget title, you know what I mean? And I don't know if it really is or not, but it's published by LucasArts. And I flipped it over on the back, and it said, from the critically acclaimed creator of TIE Fighter and the X-Wing series. And I'm like, sold. Because those games were awesome. Now, there's actually like content to download, DLC, on the original Xbox. They sort of kind of started that, but you can't get it now because the original Xbox doesn't have Xbox Live. And hopefully it's just like extra missions or whatnot. Nothing too important there. But moving on here, I went to the Gaming HQ, former Game Exchange, in Kokomo we were in that area, and I went there in search of this. This is the Super Game Boy. I wanted one because instead of buying a Game Boy player for the GameCube, which I couldn't find at the time, I ended up buying this, the Super Retro Advance adapter. Now, this plays Game Boy Advance games, but not regular Game Boy games. At the time, I didn't care, such as me. I got a good deal on it because it was a Cyber Monday deal. So now I want to play Game Boy games on my TV. Can't do it unless I buy the Game Boy player for the GameCube, which is like $30 to $50 depending on where you go. Or I just picked this up for like 10 bucks. So for this and this, it was like $30, so the price of a Game Boy Advance player for the GameCube. Whatever. They both play on the Super Nintendo. This one uses an its own AV out, so you need that. This one you just plug it in and play. It's no big to me. It is what it is, and I'm really excited to own one of these because I never had one. So lucky to have one now. When I was also there, I found a working designed game. Not one of the higher rated ones, but Gun Griffin Blaze. I'm a huge sucker for anything working designs, and this was like super freaking cheap, so I went ahead and just grabbed it while I was in there. So these next few here are just ones that I bought over the weekend that I'm filming this, and I picked up Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance on the Xbox for $2. I already own this for the PS2, but for $2 I couldn't say no. I tried it out, by the way, and the controls are whack. They're so messed up. So you aim with the X button, right? So the old MGS, it's not like the triggers. It's not how you aim and shoot. You hold the button and then you move it around and then you shoot. To go first person, you click the left stick instead of hitting, like, I think it's L1 or something like that. That's weird. That's so weird to me. I tried getting used to it, and it wasn't that bad, but I kept trying to hit the trigger and I kept opening up the menu. And this one I finally got MGS5 Ground Zeroes. Now, I didn't buy this when it came out simply because I didn't feel like paying full price for this, because this is so short. This is pretty much like the first chapter of MGS5. Kind of like the way the Tanker chapter was for Substance or for Sons of Liberty. This is what this is. It's like a prologue, and they put it out, and I think it was like $30. Rob bought it. I borrowed it from him, and I played it. Beat it in I sit there and beat it in like 45 minutes to an hour. It is what it was, and I gave it back to him. Now that Phantom Pain is here, and I'll be doing an unboxing of that when I get it, I wanted to have this to go along with it, so I went and picked it up. Not terribly expensive. It's I think it's probably about 12 to 15 bucks. This last one was freaking awesome because, you see, I go to a lot of stores and I buy stuff, and I always try to find it, sometimes the stores don't have it at its going price. I'll mark it down a little bit. So this was like not the greatest deal because I think it goes for like $35 to $40. But for 25 bucks, I picked up Final Fantasy II. Now, there's a reason why I pretty much just said, you know what, I'm going to buy this now, because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. And that's because I came across this a couple times, passed on it, and then I never see it. It's like, when I have the money, I never see it. When I don't have the money, I'll say, I'll just get it cheaper some other time. Such is the gaming collecting life. So I have every other version of Final Fantasy II, or aka Final Fantasy IV. So this is the last one. Now I have it, and that collection's complete other than getting a box and manual. As I said before, I don't really care about getting a full SNES box manual set, but for the Final Fantasies and other key titles, I'll definitely check it out and see if I can't get it on the cheap, or maybe I'll check it out on eBay. You might get a good deal on there, maybe, but I wouldn't say no. So Final Fantasy II, love this game. All right, I am back, and man, video's longer than I remembered. But I had a lot of pickups, dude. I had a lot of pickups, and yeah, I have another video coming at you here in just a few momentos. But I got some more news. And really quick here. There's this really cool game that came out on the Xbox and on the PC that just got announced. It's coming to the Switch. It's called Cuphead. Of course, this was a former Xbox or Microsoft exclusive. And, of course, they have now partnered up with Nintendo to get the game over there. It's coming out in April. I think it's April, was it 16th? Make sure I'm double-checking myself here. April 18th. April 18th, it'll be heading your way for that. Mentos, the fresh maker, says the good old podcast. Yes, so Cuphead. I've heard, pray tell of rumors that stuff like this was going to happen, that we were going to start seeing some Xbox stuff come over to the Switch. And of course, there's that rumor about Game Pass. Apparently that's not happening like we thought it was, but may still happen in the future. Then there's the idea of that they want all of their stuff, man. Of course, they want their streaming service just like the Stadia. They want that everywhere that they can get it, and the Switch would be a great platform because you can take it anywhere. And if they can get their Halos or Gears or Forzas running over there, that would be awesome. Of course, I really think that, of course, this Cuphead is probably just them dipping the toe in the water. But the other news thing that I heard of was the formation of something called LucasFilm Games. Apparently, this is on the rumor mill, and this may actually be confirmed by now. I'm not sure. But Disney has launched LucasFilm Games. Of course, if you remember, LucasArts was the old name. I mentioned them in that video that I was just talking about with Secret Weapons over Normandy. But apparently, this division will be, overseeing the Star Wars and possibly other franchises in video games formats such as consoles, PC, VR, AR, all that kind of stuff, right? What does that mean for EA? EA has had the license for about 6 years now. We have seen 2 games come to fruition from that, Battlefront and Battlefront 2. Both games, not really what they promised. Of course, we had that big debacle with Battlefront 2 and all of those loot boxes. It made a lot of people mad. But there's been a lot of games that were started, stopped, delayed, canceled. You name it, it happened with a lot of different titles, including that one game. I didn't remember if it had a game or had a name, but Amy Hennig of Uncharted fame was making an action game. That's canceled. There was another one that got canceled. We have Fallen Order that's coming out this year, apparently. Cross your fingers. But what does that mean for EA? I think was it Bob Iger? Is he the guy and like the head of Disney? He has mentioned that he basically, like, when they asked about it, he's like, yeah, there's no plans. Pretty much, and people lost faith. It was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? We gotta get Star Wars away from EA. And he's like, we don't care. It's there. Apparently, they do care because this is now apparently happening. And what does that mean? Are they gonna get it back? Are we gonna get some awesome Star Wars games again? Because back in the day, back when LucasArts actually was a thing, and in the same span of time of 6 years, I saw this post going around the internet and it's something that you don't stop and think about. There were so many different teams, so many different devs working on different Star Wars material, where they had so many different Star Wars properties, and you had like a slew of games: Lego Star Wars, the Force Unleashed, just to name a few. Those all came out, and of course the old Battlefronts, the good Battlefronts, Battlefront 1 and 2 from, the original Xbox and PS2 days, those games. And then, of course, you had the Rogue Squadron games. If anybody remembers those were awesome. Pod Racer. Remember Pod Racer? And then, of course, the second one. They had a second one that was on PS2 from the ATV Off-Road Fury devs. But you had a lot of awesome games come out from the Star Wars franchise. And now you've had that label put under EA, and you've had 2 games over the last 2 years, or 6 years, I'm sorry, and they have not lived up to what they should be. And they've just been 2 first-person shooter games. Then, Battlefront, you can fly some X-Wings and some TIE Fighters and go do some stuff. But that first one, I played the beta for it, and I was not impressed. And, I mean, the second one, you can get it for under $10, even less. I really do hope that this is a sign that they're taking the license away from EA. And because it's obvious that EA had no interest in giving BioWare what we wanted. BioWare is like, hey, KOTOR 3, here's an idea we have. And EA's like, no, make more big looter shooters. So that's what we got with Anthem. A little bit of a noteworthy thing here. I thought that was pretty neat. I just saw that while we were watching the pickup video. And as I mentioned earlier, I have one singular pickup for this episode here today. And I have been in a really big Resident Evil kick since the release of the remake of Resident Evil 2. It's awesome. I can't stop playing it. I've gone through it. This is going to be my 4th time going through it. I've done A scenario with both, and now I'm doing the B scenario. I'm about almost more than halfway, I would say, done with it. And I definitely want to try and beat it on hardcore. I can't, or at least beat it on hardcore with an S+. I've actually got it to a point where I can get. I might have said it last week on the show, but I got all the way to the first boss fight within 20-25 minutes. So it's like bam, 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 bam. I'm in there. I'm going. I'm rolling. Not shooting everything. I'm leaving certain stuff. I'm not picking up certain things because it's learn what to pick up, where to go. Know when to pick stuff up. That's another thing, is like to save you time. Maybe you don't pick it up right now. Maybe you save that spot for something else, and you can come back later and pick it up if you're going to be there later. So, be that as it may, I have been working to stream the Resident Evil series on this channel. I want to stream it. I want to stream it as much as I can. I'm in a big kick on it, and I want to keep going with it as much as I can. And hopefully, I can stream maybe this weekend. I'll get some time. Maybe, and we will see, because I can make sure whether or not to share this in the right spot. But I'm going to give you guys, if you're watching this live, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of the overlay that I have created for the Resident Evil series. And of course, the webcam's not showing up for whatever reason, but be that as it may, here's what I have for it so far. It looks like your inventory in Resident Evil. And of course, I've got the game controller. I've got a CBD vape. I've got Monster. I've got a burger and a taco for my healing items. And then, of course, I've got our logo and the Resident Evil logo and some of the social media stuff. I'm still working on it. Still work in progress for the most part. But and the game's going to go in that big blank space. But, yeah, guys, that's going to be happening. And, well, in order to fully realize, I need to get, as many Resident Evil games streamable, because I don't have a good converter. I have converter options where I can do like a PS2 or GameCube to HDMI, but it stretches the image, and I don't want that, man. Those old game systems, they are set to 4:3 aspect ratio for the most part, right? Some games do support widescreen, but even when you have it set to widescreen, it just looks horrible. So I've been on the march. Of course, on the last episode, I had some, or maybe this episode before that, I had some, I bought Resident Evil 5, 6, Revelations 1, Revelations 2. I went through, and today I added 4. 4 on the Xbox One. Why the Xbox One? Because it's the one they had. And I don't really feel like paying any more than what I paid for it. I think I paid like $15 for it. And that's how much I'm going to spend. It's a game I already own. It's an awesome game. Don't get me wrong. I love Resident Evil 4. But it also set the series on a trajectory of it not being so, what it was. I almost said scary, but I'm not sure if they've ever really been scary. They've been tense, if 4 kept the tense, 4 kept the tension, but 5 removed it when you had like another player with you, and you're just like, oh, let me just boom, shoot you. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I didn't, and 2 brought that tension back for sure. But 4 will be streamable. I have original PlayStation versions of 1, 2, and 3. I have then of course I have the PS4 digital version from the Humble Bundle a while back. I think it was almost a year ago, of Resident Evil HD version. That is the remake of the GameCube. Then of course I have on that same Humble Bundle, I got Code Veronica X. So there's that one. Now I have 4. I have 5 and 6 on the PS3. I have 7. Which haven't never played 7. I actually skipped it entirely and didn't play it. I played the demo, I think, but never played it. I need to do that. After I'm finally done beating Resident Evil 2 into the ground, I need to go back and I need to play 7. I still want to beat Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't dislike it, but it's just not. It's not capturing that spirit that it used to have. Maybe my mind will change by like when I actually complete the game. And I was having fun with it when I was playing it, but I just had that itch to go back to RE2. Be that as it may, I have nothing else for news on this week's episode of the podcast. There's some other stuff. Oh, there's one more thing. I don't have a graphic for it. So, this whole Epic Game Store thing, this whole saga with them having exclusive games, and people are getting mad about the launcher being games being exclusive to that launcher. And then, of course, the Epic Game Store has less features than the Steam launcher. It also, Epic Games has been accessing your Steam data without your permission. Oopsie. But the Quantic Dream, if you guys know those guys are guys that did Heavy Rain, Detroit, and Beyond Two Souls. Those are coming to PC and exclusive to Epic Game Store. So they are no longer, and I've actually heard this, that they are going to be releasing their games on multiple platforms on the next games going forward, because you had 3 in a row, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit were all PlayStation second-party games until now. And then, of course, they also did a game called Indigo Prophecy that's really cool. That was on the original Xbox and the PS2. Hopefully that game is reverse compatible on the Xbox One. That would be really cool. That was a really neat game. They kind of jumped the shark near the end for me, but starting off, that game was that thing gripped me like nothing else. I'm like, what is going on here? But however, there's another game that has been announced as exclusive, and at least this is a game that's coming out at the end of the summer, and at least they've announced it months advance instead of like Metro Exodus. However, The Outer Worlds is going to be Epic Game Store exclusive, and of course that is the game that is being made by the Fallout New Vegas and the original Fallout creators, but Fallout New Vegas and KOTOR 2 developers, Obsidian. Of course, they also did South Park Stick of Truth. They've done a lot of stuff. Obsidian is a great team, but this game is going to be Epic Game Store exclusive as well. Epic Game Store is sweeping up these games to be exclusive, and some people are not happy about it. I haven't heard anything, but people are replying on Twitter. Somebody basically they replied with a thing from New Vegas that said, "Vilified. For your overwhelmingly monstrous behavior, you become vilified by the community." And then, of course, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Everyone disliked that. Yeah, you're building a terrible future. Yeah, so a bunch of people don't like it. But, I'm not a PC guy. I'm a console guy. So Obsidian also got bought by Microsoft, so this would be the last game that is on. I really shouldn't say that, because Microsoft just announced that the Halo Master Chief Collection is coming to the PC, and it's coming to Steam. Interesting. But with that being said, I think I'm going to shift it over to myself from the fall and winter of 2015. This video is going to be a little different because I didn't really feel like setting up because the camera that I used in the previous video was my wife's photo camera, right? Taking pictures. This was just a point and shoot camera, so my voice might not be as clear. However, I just set the games up on the table. It's pretty festive because it's around Christmas time. I was on my break, and I'm detailing all the games that I bought over the last few months. So I'm going to kick it on over to myself from the past. Brando, take it away.
What's up, everybody? Brando here again with another pickups video, and this time I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. I'm just going to have a table laid out with the games on it because I've got a lot of stuff to go through, and I really don't want to sit down and set everything up, and it's Christmas time, as you can tell with the table packing here. So you know what, I just decided to do it this way. That way you guys can get a good look at what I'm talking about, and I'll just just shoot from the hip here, and that way I don't have to sit there uncomfortably in front of the camera for hopefully not too long. But if I was going to sit there and babble, it probably would have been a lot longer. But these pickups go all the way back and to September. It's been that long since I've done a pickups video. And the first lot here is the Game Boy Color Zelda Oracle of Ages. Now I have the manual for both, but unfortunately the person I bought it from didn't have the Oracle of Seasons, so I'm still hunting for that. I found it once, but it was in such bad shape you couldn't even tell like what the actual like game was if you didn't know already. It was like you had to like look at it and study it and go, okay, it's red, I can see Zelda, okay, I know what this is. And you know, I'm trying not to be as picky anymore with sort of the quality of what I'm getting, but I at least want it to be legible, and I want it to be you know, recognizable into what it is. But big thanks to Gretchen for that. My good buddy Silent Rob's wife hooked me up with that. Going down here for the N64, I got a couple more of those. I got Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and Zelda Ocarina of Time. I almost said Oracle of Time, but that's up there. Yeah, picking these up, I ended up getting Kazooie and Tooie just right around the same time, to be honest with you. So I don't know if I picked them up on the same day. Honestly, I don't think I did. I think I got Tooie first, and then I went back and they actually had Kazooie. But for Ocarina, it was a game that I have it on the 3DS. I never had it on the 64, and I've had Majora's for quite some time. So to find that, and it was a decent price, it was a pretty good deal to find that and get that into my collection. Next year for my birthday, I got a couple games. I got Lego Marvel Superheroes on the Wii U and Assassin's Creed Rogue. Unfortunately, I haven't played either one of them too much. I did play Marvel Superheroes on the PS4 at my buddy Rob's house, so that's how I knew I wanted it. And for Assassin's Creed Rogue, well, I haven't played an entry of the series in quite some time. I think I last played, I played 4 was the last one that I played, and I haven't gotten into Unity or Syndicate or anything like that. But for Rogue came out as the same time as Unity, but on the prior consoles. And it's actually tied to the Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, and that sort of like bridges the two storyline-wise. Coming down here, we have Illusion of Gaia. It was awesome to get that in my collection. I let that pass a while ago. I let Rob have it, but I finally have it in my collection. It's a good price. And Pokemon Red. Honestly, I have never owned Pokemon Red. I have Pokemon Yellow. If I move around the table here. I have Pokemon Yellow, but I had never owned Pokemon Red. So to get that was pretty cool, because Red is the first one that I played. I borrowed it from my buddy and played it off from him on like the Game Boy. I think I played it on the original brick Game Boy. I didn't have a Game Boy Color yet. I got the Game Boy Color when I got Pokemon Yellow, and I just played that version over and over again. But over here, Pokemon Silver. Honestly, I tried Gold and Silver when they came out, and I was not a huge fan. I didn't really get into Gold and Silver until they made the remake. I didn't progress into Pokemon after, was it Red, Blue, and Yellow? And so I have Heart Gold, so I went ahead and just picked up the silver cart here. I got it for, honestly, not a bad price there for that. And especially when there's another store that was selling it for like double the price. I got it for like $10, so good deal on that. For the GameCube, can't really tell there, but that is on the GameCube. Mega Man Anniversary Collection, picked it up for that. And then I have for the PS2, Ys, the Ark of Napishtim. That's a tongue twister there to say that, but that is, I think, the 6th Ys game. Honestly, I have it written down somewhere, that way I know which Ys that I'm buying, because they're really weird to buy for it over here, because they renamed them, or this was a remake, a redo of 6 that they re-put onto the PS2. Honestly, dude, getting into this series is so convoluted. It's really cool to play, but it's just so hard to figure out what the heck you're actually getting into. But I did find that, and honestly, that is the second Ys game I've ever seen in my life. And the first one is the one that I bought on the Vita, which I think is a remake of Ys 4. Next year, I got these games up in Nate's neck of the woods, up there, up north, and I got Code Veronica, Resident Evil on Dreamcast, Silent Hill. That was a big one to get off my list there, and Chrono Cross. Now, I will say I'm not a huge fan of Chrono Cross. I like Chrono Trigger a whole lot more here. But, you know, I had to get it for my PlayStation collection. I'm a huge PlayStation collector. I have quite a few games into that collection. And this is a must-have. The PlayStation is an RPG machine. So I'm hoping to be able to kind of play it and hopefully like it a little bit more. I did play it a little bit back in the day. I rented it, didn't really get into it, and then I bought it on digital. And I think I played it on like my PSP or something when it came out for the PSN. But hopefully I can get into it. Coming up here is some PSP selections. I got Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops Plus, Killzone Liberation. Coming down, Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2. Now, interestingly enough, I found Metal Gear Acid 2 first, and that's kind of the more difficult one to find. I found it up there with those other games I showed you that I got up in Nate's neck of the woods. And I bought it up there for a little bit more than I wanted to spend, but I never see it. And I'll be damned if like 2 weeks later I did not find the first Metal Gear Acid for like a fraction of that price. It's crazy, the price difference between 1 and 2 here, but it just, people didn't know what they were buying when they bought their PSPs. They got the first Metal Gear Acid, and it sold a lot, right? They didn't really know what they were getting. It was more of a puzzler, more of a kind of a tactics game, and then so them selling all those copies kind of warranted making a sequel, but the sequel didn't sell quite as many. Coming down, Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Awesome to get these finally. And then I got the original Dissidia, which I owned digitally on the PSP Go. Yes, I said that, PSP Go. I am ashamed. Trust me. Still living that one down. But I have a Duodecim. I finally picked up the original for a couple bucks. And the same thing for those Final Fantasies. Interesting enough, for these 2 Final Fantasies here, they actually kind of screwed me over because I brought Final Fantasy 2 and 1. I brought the cases up there, and he said, I can't find Final Fantasy 1. I'm like, no, he couldn't find Final Fantasy 2. So I went back to find another game, which ended up being Killzone. But then I found another Final Fantasy 2 case, and I'm like, well, if they don't have any, I don't want anybody else to get gypped like I was just going to get gypped. So I brought it up. I said, here, I found this out there. Don't know, maybe if you can find that one. He found that one, sent me home, and I'm testing them out, right? So he found Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 2 was in both of these cases. That guy forgot to put the original Final Fantasy in the first case, and then put both Final Fantasy 2s. And I'm guessing because the art is similar, even though like the colors are off, or the guy just kind of got confused. And I'll catch him a break. I went back and they made it right, so that worked out pretty good. Coming down here, Donkey Kong Country. Who didn't love this freaking game when they were a kid, man? I never did really play like the sequels, 2 or 3, but that original one, I played the heck out of. Also, another game I played the heck out of, Turtles in Freaking Time. I got this game, and I sat there and was testing it out, and almost like, I think I got more than halfway through just in one setting because I love this game. It didn't take that really long to beat. I used to play the crap out of it. I never owned it though. I always had to borrow it from like my buddies or something to play it, but I got it now. And you know what? I'm really starting to like get pretty happy with where I am in my collection for some of this stuff, and it's gonna get to the point where I'm just looking for more hard to find stuff. And stuff like this is not gonna come as often. That's why I'm sort of like putting like a stop at making these videos as often. Coming up here for the NES, The Simpsons. Was it Bart versus the Space Mutants? I remember Preston playing that, and having a blast. The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Now, the only reason I have this is because I have the manual, and I've seen the Angry Video Game Nerd video on it, and it was a few bucks, so I said, why not? And then over here, I have the original Ninja Turtles. I have the second one, so now I just need to get the Manhattan Project. I think that's what it's called. Over here, Diddy Kong Racing. Again, man, I'm getting pretty close to being kind of done with my N64 collecting. I'm very happy with where I'm at. I have the games I really want the most. I'm not going for anything complete here, so there's only a few that I can really think of off the top of my head. Maybe like the first Turok, maybe Pilot Wings, even though that's not really all that great. Maybe Conkers if I can come across it again. But yeah, I'm getting pretty happy with where I'm at for the N64. Coming down here for the Wii U, the Wonderful 101 and Super Mario Maker. Wonderful 101, man. You know what? I downloaded the demo, wasn't really too sure about it. When I tested it out after I bought it, I'm liking it, man. It's kind of different and really neat, but Super Mario Maker, that's where it's at. This game is freaking awesome. I'm having so much fun with it. It's probably my game of the year, to be honest with you. Even though I played a lot of really cool games, the retro guy in me, I might have to give it to Mario Maker. I don't know. I haven't played Tomb Raider, the Rise of the Tomb Raider. I haven't played that one yet, but you know what? Mario Maker might just be enough to edge that out, man. This is a really cool thing for them to put out, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save the Wii U. It's not really going to do much, but more Wii U stuff here. I have Shovel Knight and The Legend of Kay. Now, Shovel Knight was a indie game that got a physical release, and I didn't play it until I got the physical release. Just saying, I like physical content, and if they never came out with a physical release, I was going to get it eventually, maybe on like a flash sale or something, but Legend of Kay was something I never heard of until I saw it on YouTube, and I think it's a remake of a PS2 game. I think it was like maybe a Kickstarter of some sorts, because it's a Wii U entry, but it has like a normal Wii white case. So I found that at my at the local Walmart for $20. I don't know if they're supposed to get it. I don't know if what retailers actually got it, but I saw it after seeing it on YouTube and just jumped on it and picked it up. Now the last three here, I got the Lego Batman trilogy, and basically the reason why I picked these up is because I'm trying to collect some of the Lego games, and I decided to get them for the Wii and Wii U, just to kind of buff out that collection a little bit and get some more games for that. I did play the first and second one. We bought them for my nephew on like the DS, and I was testing them out, and I was having so much fun with them. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get these at some point. So I figured now's a good time. They were a pretty decent price. The prices are actually kind of going low on them. So I'm actually gonna cut this, reset the table, because I got like another full table of games to show you. So I will be right back. Okay, we are back with a whole new table setup. I have that many games I had to actually empty the table and refill it. So the first one here, Kirby's Return to Dreamland on the Wii, and then the next two, Metroid Trilogy, Metroid Prime Trilogy, Super Mario Galaxy 2. Now, these three Wii games were at GameStop buy two get one free. I stopped and I looked to see if there's anything of note in there, and there were a few. So I looked at it, decided to, pay the price. Some of these are kind of going for, some expensive bucks. Kind of hard to find this stuff, like, for a decent price on the used market, especially like on Craigslist or anything like that. I don't really check Craigslist that often. I don't really like dealing with Craigslist. But I get home, and I'm excited, man. And that's the only game that's in the actual case, the disc. These two are empty. So I had to go back, get the discs. But they were really cool about it. I called them right when I got home and said, look, you guys forgot to give me some discs. They checked into it. They said, yeah, you're right. We'll have it sitting here, and you guys can just pick it up when you come back. And I went in the next day after work and just got my games. That was kind of cool. Paid off there. 3 PSP games more added here. And these are from like my big Christmas shopping spree that I did. So Monster Hunter 2 Freedom, Tokobot, and then without a case, Persona 2. I went ahead and picked that up because it was a decent price. I had a case, but I can't find a label to print for it. And even though I would like to pay for a full case, I probably would just print it out. It doesn't really matter to me that much as long as it looks decent on like a shelf or something. But Tokobot. I want to talk about Tokobot. And the thing about Tokobot is I actually have Tokobot on the PS2, Tokobot Plus. I found it at Goodwill, sealed, if you can believe that. It was still sealed, and I found that on the PSP for like $1 and went, you know what, I'm going to buy this, that way I can actually try the game and play it, because I just left Tokobot Plus sealed. I didn't even know what it was, but I'm like, a sealed PS2 game, it looks kind of anime-ish, I'll leave it sealed, see what happens with that. Who knows, maybe one day it'll become really rare and maybe expensive, or maybe it won't, so there's that. PS1, Tekken 2. I tried to buy Tekken 2 months ago, maybe even over a year ago. Bought Tekken 1 and Tekken 2. And same story as the Final Fantasy story that I shared with you about on the PSP. They put 2 copies of the original Tekken in the cases, and when they looked, they couldn't find Tekken 2 anywhere. They didn't even have it, so I didn't even get to buy it that day. I played the crap out of this in like the arcade, so really happy to have that. Coming down here for the PS3, Final Fantasy 13-2, Lightning Returns, 13-3 technically, I guess, and Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. All really great games. Haven't really played 13 that much. I tried to get into it, and it really didn't sink me. But I had to get the other ones just for completionist sake. Hopefully, maybe one day I could sit down, play all 3 of them, and maybe it'll click. Who knows, right? Sometimes these things take time. I know for a while it took me a long time to get into like Dragon Quest VIII. So, I mean, it took me over 10 years to try to get into that after I played it the first time. Coming up here, found BioShock 2 and BioShock Infinite for like $2 a piece. That was a really good deal. I don't have the first one yet. They didn't have it. I looked for it. But I'm really looking at like diving into those. So I've heard the second one is not that great, but Infinite is fantastic. So I tried playing them, and they look fun. Look interesting. Coming down here, The Bouncer for PS2. Who remembers that game as like a launch title, man? I played the crap out of that. I remember beating it in like 45 minutes, though. You guys remember that game being that short? You can play it like 2-player or something like that. I remember playing it with my pal Jason, and we just had a blast with that game. I remember I spent the night and we played that game. I guess if you beat it 3 times, the last boss was like an alternate outfit, and we got that in like about an hour and a half. It was crazy. And then Rogue Galaxy. Really interesting. I heard a lot of cool stuff about this, and this has just come to the PS4 with their PS2 initiative to try and like get newer games or older games with like trophy support. And I ended up finding this out in the wild for about almost the same price as it's going for on the PS4. And you know what? I like it. It was kind of neat. I was not expecting that kind of gameplay out of that. So really cool to check that one out. Coming down here, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube. I only played this, was it in a store? Like an EB Games or something. I tried it out and I didn't end up buying it. And now I have it because it was pretty cheap. And then Fable, The Lost Chapters for $1, if you can believe that, for $1. I couldn't say no to that one either. Coming down here, Crimson Skies, the High Road to Revenge. Original Xbox exclusive. Now, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this before. Microsoft company store purchase, not to be sold, purchased by blank, right employee number. And down here it says not for resale. I found this at my local disc replay for like $2. And I thought that big Microsoft sticker was just a GameStop sticker. You know, trade it, you know, buy it, play it, trade it. You know, the old stickers that you still find at some of the games that you're looking for, especially on the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, back before they sort of like went limiting on their stickers for just the pre-owned stuff. They would just put so many stickers on that damn thing. And it's been a real pain in the ass to try and clean them up when you buy them. But I almost skipped over it until I like actually read it, and that really took me back. I was not expecting to find that in like nowhere, Indiana. So pretty cool to see that. If you guys have ever seen this before anywhere else, please let me know, because that's kind of, I thought it was a neat find, especially so far away from a company store. In fact, I don't even know where one is. I think there's one in Seattle. But the Game Boy Advance player. Obviously, there's just a disc. I do have the unit hooked up to my GameCube already, otherwise I have it sitting here. I didn't really feel like unhooking it. I just have the disc. You know, you guys trust me, right? I have it. That was pretty cool to check that out. Honestly, it was I want to complete my GameCube type thing. It wasn't something that I really needed. I have ways to play my Game Boys, my Game Boy, original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance on the TV. I have cartridges for those on the Super Nintendo. So this is almost just like you know what? I have the money, I might as well pick it up. So yeah, there's that. Up here, I have Super C and Ghosts and Goblins NES games. I'm really rounding out some of my original NES titles. You know, there's a lot of guys that try to go for a complete set. I'm not that guy. There's only a few games that I'm really thinking of. I need to get, like the Mega Mans. I need to get Castlevanias 1 and 3, and maybe a few more, maybe like the original Contra and something like that. So honestly, I'm getting to the end of where I want to be for the NES stuff. Maybe I'll pick some more stuff as I kind of go along, but to find these two out there were pretty, was pretty neat. Coming down here, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater 3D. Now, I saw this, it was about a year ago, and I went back to pick it up and it was gone. So to find this now, the price has gone up on it just a little bit. Honestly, I wish I had the circle pad. I tried playing it, it's a little weird. But I'm happy to have it and to try and round off my Metal Gear Solid collection. Down there without a case is Dragon Quest V. Maybe you can zoom in on it. Can you focus? Focus? Oh well, you guys can see what it is, right? Hopefully. Dragon Quest V, don't have a case for it. I have extra cases, but I don't have like the label to print it off. In fact, I found the label, but I don't have the ink. So there's that. That's why I didn't put a case with that one. Down here, some Dreamcast stuff. Silent Scope, Power Stone. Power Stone, I remember playing. I played Silent Scope in the arcade. Power Stone is a fun, niche little fighter. Pretty neat to have. Again, my Dreamcast collection is like very wimpy. I don't really have a whole lot of games. There's not really a whole lot that, after I started collecting for it, I'm like, you know what? There's kind of a handful, really, that I really have a strong desire to have. But I had to get Power Stone, and Silent Scope was only a few bucks. Now this next one for the Dreamcast, I got lucky because they restocked it on the Watermelon, and that is Pure Solar. Now this game came out for the Sega Genesis in 2010, and they put it on the HD in 2015. I think it was the PS4 and the Wii U. I think it's on Steam. It might be on Xbox One as well. But yeah, they also released a physical copy for the Dreamcast, and I had to pick it up, and I missed the Kickstarter for it, man. I was kicking myself, but I never had the money when that was coming across. But I read that they restocked it. I went and paid the price. I wanted it so bad because, man, they really hooked you up. They got like a poster here. The discs look exactly like original Dreamcast discs. Now, this isn't a a GD-ROM like what they have for the Dreamcast. This is actually just a CD-ROM, but it works just the same. And they hooked you, and it looks fantastic. I was floored when I actually saw the actual quality, and it apparently has some sort of mini game for the VMU. Seriously, they went all out for that. I'm really blown away with how far they went to make the Dreamcast collectors happy, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. And that is my massive pickups from September to Christmas, and I hope you guys had a really Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you had a good one. I'm Brando, and I will see you later.
And I am back. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week on the podcast. Of course, we have adjusted our release schedule right now due to the everything that's been going on in the personal lives, the medical stuff, as I detailed earlier. You know, we have some episodes in the bank, some cool retrospective episodes that we're bringing to you. I will be doing some live stuff. I'll be trying to do some more social media stuff to stay engaged with each and every one of you, which, of course, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Game Addicts Play for all of our social media stuff. Stay in tune with what we're doing. I'm trying to post there as much as I can. And then, of course, check out the podcast when every other Wednesday, a live stream here on Twitch and on our Facebook channel. We go live. When we go live, so we can interact with you guys. If I can, I'll read the comments. If I don't, I will get to them near the end of the show if that's possible. And then, of course, the audio version drops the next day on Thursdays. For all of you audio guys, they want your podcast on your phone, all that cool stuff. That's up there, and it gets released on there. If we're not on your favorite one, please let me know. That way, I can make it so. And then on Fridays, the live stream video that goes out to Twitch and on Facebook. That goes up on our YouTube channel. Of course, the YouTube channel is a pretty much catch-all. You get the audio and video versions of the show. And, of course, all of the gaming videos that we've done, either complete or otherwise, as far as series going on over there. You can check that out as well. Guys, thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. Again, I've been Brando. For Mike, thank you guys so much. Game on. Have a good one, guys. Until next time.